What if Modulo Yuji raised Sukuna's reincarnation? The king of curses chose to start again, and somewhere in the world, a child was born carrying that soul. Modulo Yuji felt it the moment it arrived. 83 years old, the strongest sorcerer alive, felt it from across the city, and he knew immediately what it was. The question wasn't who. The question was, what do you do when the soul that cost you everything gets the clean start it asked for? Do you walk away? Do you stay? Or do you spend whatever time you have left making sure it stays that way? Modulo Yuji already knew his answer. The soul led him to an orphanage on the edge of the city, a building on a quiet street where children without families waited for someone to come. Modulo Yuji stood outside for a moment. He felt the same ancient presence he had carried inside him for years, sitting somewhere inside that building in the body of a 6-year-old. He went inside. Nobody noticed his presence. He had spent 83 years learning how to move through spaces without drawing any attention. He found the child in the courtyard, sitting alone in the yard while the other children played. The child looked up when Modulo Yuji stopped in front of him. Big eyes, open face, the expression of a 6-year-old who hasn't yet learned to be suspicious of strangers. Modulo Yuji reached with his soul perception. It found the soul immediately and felt nothing of what he expected. No cruelty, no power, no pride, just nothing. Just the child's soul, small and unformed. Modulo Yuji looked at the child for a long time. The child looked back. Are you here to adopt someone? Modulo Yuji hadn't planned for that question. I don't know yet. The child nodded, like that was a reasonable answer. Modulo Yuji sat down on the ground next to him. The child didn't move away. They sat there for a while, the other children playing in the background. Modulo Yuji thought about 1,000 years of everything that soul had caused the world. Then he looked at the child sitting next to him and made a decision no one expected. He decided to take him in. Modulo Yuji named him Wasuke. Wasuke Itadori was the man who raised Yuji in the original timeline, Yuji's grandfather, the person who told him to die surrounded by people. The early years were quieter than expected. Modulo Yuji had spent 83 years in the Jujutsu world, every relationship defined by a mission or survival. Raising a 6-year-old had none of that. It had breakfast, school runs, arguments about whether vegetables counted as food. Wasuke had opinions about everything and was consistently wrong, yet he delivered his arguments with complete confidence. Modulo Yuji found this unreasonably funny. But there was one small problem. Wasuke couldn't keep friends. Not because he was unkind, because he said true things at the wrong moment without understanding why the moment was wrong. A classmate would show him a drawing and Wasuke would say it looked like shit. A teacher would explain something incorrectly and Wasuke would correct them in front of everyone and ask them to get another job. A group of children would find something funny and Wasuke would call them unfunny brats and then be surprised when everyone went quiet. He wasn't trying to be cruel. He just couldn't understand why people preferred comfortable lies to accurate observations. Modulo Yuji watched this happen and felt something he recognized from somewhere deep. One evening, Wasuke looked at Modulo Yuji across the dinner table and said without any particular emotion, "You have a lot of scars, more than other people's parents." Modulo Yuji put down his chopsticks. That is true. You also look so stupid when you pick me up from school wearing a hoodie like you're a depressed teenager. Also true. Wasuke thought about it. I don't mind, he said. I just thought you should know. Modulo Yuji looked at him and felt from somewhere deep the ghost of something ancient, a presence that had spent its entire existence being feared or used. Wasuke went back to eating. Modulo Yuji said nothing. The thing is, the loneliness wasn't Sukuna's surfacing. It was just Wasuke, a boy who told the truth and couldn't understand why that cost him everything. 10 years passed. Wasuke had just turned 16. Modulo Yuji looked exactly the same as the day he walked into that orphanage. Wasuke had noticed this years ago and mentioned it once across the dinner table. You don't look any older. I know. That is strange. Yes. When Wasuke was 13, something shifted. Not the soul. The soul was the same blank presence it had always been. Something around the soul. A ridiculous amount of cursed energy had started forming around him. Modulo Yuji sat down across from him. Something is different, right? Wasuke said. Yes. What is it? Modulo Yuji looked at him for a long time. He had planned for this moment, had known it was coming since the courtyard of the orphanage 10 years ago, had rehearsed versions of what to say, how much truth to give, how to explain what Wasuke was carrying without explaining who had carried it before. And sitting across from a 13-year-old who looked at him with complete trust, Modulo Yuji forgot every version he had rehearsed. It is power, he said, and I'm going to teach you how to use it. Wasuke nodded. Okay, he said, and went back to his homework. The training was nothing like the conventional jujutsu training. No combat sparring, no cursed energy drills, it had none of that. Modulo Yuji sat across from Wasuke and talked. 83 years of knowledge compressed into long conversations. Wasuke had no choice but to listen since he had no friends. He absorbed everything with ease. That was the thing about Wasuke. He was smart and learned quickly. What he did next was something Modulo Yuji had not expected. He made the shrine technique his own. What emerged wasn't exactly shrine. This mantle was there, but the shape of it was different. Precise where Sukuna had been overwhelming, controlled in a way that reflected the boy who had spent the majority of his life listening to the strongest sorcerer alive. It was Sukuna's technique, but filtered through a person Sukuna had never been. Modulo Yuji watched Wasuke practice in the evenings and felt something he didn't have a name for. Pride was part of it. Grief was part of it. He never told Wasuke where the technique came from. He told himself it was to protect Wasuke from the weight of that knowledge. But somewhere along the way, Modulo Yuji stopped thinking of Wasuke as a responsibility and started thinking of him as a son. The higher-ups filed a report on a random Tuesday. Technique consistent with the Heian era cursed energy patterns. Threat level, special grade, recommendation, immediate containment and extermination pending investigation. Modulo Yuji felt them before the report reached anyone's desk. Someone was coming for Wasuke. Modulo Yuji stood up. Wasuke. How many are coming? Wasuke said. Modulo Yuji looked at him. Enough, he said. Wasuke looked at Modulo Yuji the way he looked at everything, directly, without fear. What do we do? Let them come.